Morning all. It seems strange to say morning as normally we offer these webinars in the afternoon, but also I'm being aware that people are joining us from right across the country and even internationally. Today I'd like to acknowledge that I am on Lutruwita, Tasmanian Aboriginal land, and acknowledge with deep respect the traditional owners of the land, the Palawa people. I want to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to the Aboriginal community that continues to care for country. I stand for a future that profoundly respects and acknowledges Aboriginal perspectives, cultures, language and history, and a continued effort to fight for Aboriginal justice and rights, paving the way for a strong future. Thank you for joining us today. For those who don't know, my name's Darlene McLennan and I'm the Manager of the Australian Disability Clearinghouse and Education, ADCET for short. ADCET is delighted to have Cassidy Fine from Echo360, who is one of the directors of product for teaching and learning tools, back with us to present another webinar. Kathy presented to us probably probably under a year ago, and we're really looking forward to hearing the updates on the technology used within Echo360. So yeah, I look forward to this webinar. It's great to see the technology evolving over time. So I'll throw over to you now, Cassidy. Thank you. Being in America, it's yeah, I think nearly 9 o'clock there, your time. So at night. So I really appreciate you joining us today. So thank you.
No, of course. I'm excited to be here and speaking with all of you. I'm excited to be back. Certainly, it was a great presentation. Seems like a year was just a month ago, really. But yeah, excited to be back. Apologies for any sort of shadows or any kind of lack of light in the scenery. It is 9 p.m. here local. Well, great. I am really excited to speak with all of you today about what we're doing at Echo360 to make tools available to our users around making video as accessible as possible for students and other users of our platform. For those of you that aren't familiar with Echo360, I'm going to go into just a brief overview of our platform, kind of how we do things, why we are the way that we are, and then I'll dive into our accessibility best practices, our standards, and then our tool sets that can help make content fully accessible, including our Transcript Displays and our Transcript Editor that we most recently launched. So here at Echo360, our goal is to really support a learning platform that works the way you do as an instructor. So not sort of piecemeal tools that you can kind of hope to string together, not sort of focusing on the output, but really focusing on the outcomes. So ensuring that student outcomes are improved based on the use of our platform. And in doing that, we kind of look at each of the different areas of that process, holistically. So everything from how and where you're creating a video or creating media more generally, how you then can manage that and successfully enhance it in order to be potentially more engaging, track more data from it, and just continue to kind of really utilize the power of multimedia content in the best way possible. And then how is that shared? How is that presented? How is that best utilized? Ideally, again and again, especially if it is deemed to be successful as a learning tool. And then finally, engaging. So how you use it to engage with your audience, help collect data around performance and around outcomes. And then, of course, analyze that data to see where there is success and where potentially things can be modified. So really, this is kind of the framework we look at, we live by, we live and breathe. It's kind of hung up on my wall right now in my home office. It's something we're always thinking about when we're thinking through how we can improve our existing features or feature sets, and when we're thinking through brand new features or feature sets for our users. So just a kind of a slightly deeper dive into our existing tool sets. One of our biggest areas is that we help you turn passive videos into active learning. So we do provide various tool sets within our platform to help encourage engagement and, again, kind of collect all of this information and support students as much as possible. So we have robust notes, we have Q&A, we have responses and discussions that can all occur within class. Students can bookmark material either at a particular timestamp in a video or a particular slide of content that they can either write notes against or go back to review after class if they need to. They can flag things as confusing. So if they find a particular piece of content that doesn't make sense to them, they can flag that and the instructor will be notified so that the instructor can then go back and see, okay, I'm seeing a lot of students flagging this particular slide as confusing. I need to make sure I need to review it in my next class, or I need to make sure that I maybe modify it so that students find it to be less confusing. And then of course, finally, transcript displays, which I will be getting into more of our transcription functionality in our partnership with AWS or Amazon Web Services Transcribe service a little bit later on in the presentation. We also go beyond just basic, video views, open rates, kind of more casual, maybe VMS or CMS analytics that you may have seen or may experience. We really try to track as much as possible to ensure positive student outcomes and improving student outcomes as much as possible. A lot of those rich learning tools that I went over on the last slide, including especially Q&A and the confusion flag, help encourage behaviors that we don't typically see in sort of standard in-person courses. And we have, quite a few white papers and other sorts of testing methods we've ran with our instructors that partner with us and work with us in the platform. But we want to make sure that we're kind of capturing all the relevant data that we can so instructors can have the best sort of 360 view, no pun intended, of their students' behaviors and kind of learning experiences and learning styles. So we really try to present as much data as possible to help instructors see what content may be successful, what content students may find confusing, and helping students that are struggling before it's too late. And finally, we also support video media management or content media management, so VMS or CMS. We found that a lot of existing platforms in this space were either incredibly dense to the point of just kind of confusion and a far too large and long sort of overhead in learning the basics of the platform, or there just wasn't enough control and enough tools specific to kind of learning and how learning content needs to be handled in relation to kind of embedding in an LMS or other areas that tools were lacking. So we built our own. We obviously think it's kind of the best of all worlds. We automatically organize video, media, audio media, and presentations for easy browsing. There's, of course, sorting capabilities, filtering capabilities, all of that. You can search easily to find what you need off of tags, off of titles. You can share with anyone from an individual in the course to a group to broader classes or the public at large. And of course, all of these are tracking all of those relevant and helpful analytics that I was going over from the previous slide. All right, great. Enough about our platform. Let's get into accessibility. So I'm sure all of you are already kind of familiar with these tenets, but I just like to start with them just as a sort of broader review. We do follow by WCAG's 2.1 standards, specifically AA or greater. WCAG lays out kind of these 4 areas of remediation. There are things that are perceivable, operable, understandable, and they must be robust. These seem sort of vague when looked at in a non-specific way, but if we drill down, we can see these are very easily applicable to your tool or tool sets and how they need to perform in a way that is successful for everyone. So the first being perceivable, information that's presented in your platform and relevant user interface components, so things like buttons, drop down, areas where you would enter text. Those must be presentable to users in a way that they can perceive regardless of how they are interacting with the interface. So for example, if a user is utilizing a screen reader such as NVDA, they need to be able to utilize that user interface tools and read or in other ways be able to absorb that information even if they're still using that screen reader. So that screen reader needs to be able to gain access to the same parts of the page that maybe a sighted user would be able to. your platform must be operable and the content must be operable as well. So again, user interface components within the platform and navigation must actually be able to be used, So of course, you know, a scroll up and scroll down on a page is no good if you can't actually use it. Third, and I think 3 and 4 are really the most relevant to making content accessible more specifically. Information and the operation of a user interface must be understandable. So, you know, it is perceived, okay, it is operable, okay, but does it make sense? Do I actually understand what is happening when I'm interacting with this element or when I am interacting with this information, right? And then finally, robustness. So content must be robust enough that it can be interpreted by a wide range of user agents, including assistive technologies. So this just means that the content must be able to be understood regardless of the platform being used that is being used to ingest it or view it or understand it. So whether it's a screen reader, whether you're utilizing Zoom text, whether you're utilizing a tool that modifies the contrast, all of those should not modify the meaning of the information or otherwise how the user can interact with the information. Cool. So I'm going to get a little bit into what we're doing today to help kind of support those standards. We do have a fully automated testing suite. I love our QA folks. They're awesome. We have both manual and automated QA. QA stands for quality assurance. It just means that we are fully testing all of our releases before they get pushed into our production environment, which is what, if you are a user of ours, what you would be interacting with. So we have our automated QA team using something that is called the ACTS accessibility engine or ACTS related tools. So ACTS is a language created by a company called DQ, D-E-Q-U-E. They're fairly popular in the States. I'm actually not sure how popular they are here, but they have created the ACTS language to help automated tests around specific requirements around accessibility. And ACTS is great because it already integrates with kind of other open source testing suites. We utilize Cucumber and Ruby-based frameworks, so that works really well for us. We also support and utilize a UI component library or user interface component library. What that means is that you can think of it almost as a kind of box of Legos. So instead of our developers, every time we create you know, a new part of the application where there would be something a user would need to interact with, let's say again, going back to a text field or you know, okay or cancel button, let's say they're entering their name, for example. That name field and that button would already be created. So they could basically take that Lego and just plug it in and be done. And we know for a fact that both of those components are already tested and pass accessibility standards. So it makes development faster. It also, you know, kind of makes our standards, you know, pass across the board. You know, it makes everyone happy. It's great. And so finally, then all new features that we're creating and feature sets are tested for that WCAG 2.1 compliance. Again, we're utilizing that new UI component library that helps make things easy. In the case where we are creating new components or new areas of the UI that don't yet exist, we are ensuring that those are tested and then we're relevant adding those to our component library so we can continue to reuse that in the future. Great. We also partner with a company in the States called Level Access. Just a brief kind of bit about them, just because they're really interesting. They were founded in '97 by engineers with disabilities themselves, pre-WCAG. They've been around longer than any other US-based vendor. They primarily dealt with kind of physical accessibility in spaces, so kind of buildings and you know, that sort of work, and then moved more into software. They support both today. They continue to kind of support remediation and accessibility standards across the board. They do focus now more on software, but they work with over 1,000 different companies. So everything from education technology to other SaaS services to kind of direct-to-consumer companies, really everything across the board. And all of our testing and remediation suggestions are performed by employees with disabilities whom they specifically hire, which is great. The leaders include Tim Springer, who's the CEO and co-founder, and Jonathan Avila, who is the Chief Accessibility Officer and who is actually sitting on the board of Wcag as well. So that definitely helps get ahead of any future iterations that Wcag is working on. All right, great. And just finally, we're working with them to create a our global audit. We already have kind of incorporated a lot of their feedback into a lot of our tools that are available in production already. So those are available in our universal capture application, our groups areas, our video editor, and our transcript editor, which I will get into in a little bit. If you aren't familiar with those tools, that's okay. And finally, we have some changes underway for our classroom playback and our section views. So just showing a little brief glimpse of kind of what we're working on, incorporating those kind of design changes and suggestions by their team. All right, great. So you're probably thinking, okay, all that sounds great, but what tools can I use right now to help make my content accessible for my students? Great question. I always like to start, folks always like to kind of get right into tools. I call it kind of tool talk. But I just always like to sort of remind folks that lecture capture in and of itself, if you are performing it, is a way to make your content more accessible, right? So these are some, notes that we've received from students recently. I just like to use these because they're a great reminder of, the importance of lecture capture in and of itself as an accessibility tool. Again, we always like to jump to, does it have closed captioning? Does it have audio description? Does it have all these other kind of bells and whistles? And those are important as well, but lecture capture is a great first step. So just to read one of these, you can read them, of course yourself, but one of these, I suffer from autoimmune inflammatory arthritis and had a serious flare and missed some lectures. In the past, I've suffered from anxiety over missed lectures or forced myself to walk to lectures, making my condition worse. Having lecture capture meant that I could stay at home and recover properly without missing out on information, and it's been a major relief. And the other two, the first being, I have dyslexia and chronic fatigue. If it wasn't for lecture capture, I would have to drop out of university. And the final, as a student with learning difficulties, I found the lecture capture videos more than useful than simply using a dictaphone because they had the visual aspect as well. And it's good revision material, especially for, and unfortunately the professor's head is blocked out the quote, but I think they get the idea. So yeah, just again, lecture capture in and of itself really is a great first step. Now, of course, there's also the ability to transcribe and the ability to associate closed captions. I always like to take a step back at first and just ensure people understand the difference between the two. Transcription is still a significant improvement in the accessibility of a video. Keeping in mind that not all accessibility is about sensory impairment, and it does provide learners other modes of viewing content and ingesting that content and reviewing that content if they need to. But transcription does not equal closed captioning. So closed captioning does need to be 99% accurate or greater and include key descriptions, whereas transcripts do not include that. And that is because typically transcription is machine generated, whereas closed captioning is human generated. So this is where kind of it gets tricky because for closed captioning, a compliant in-house captioning initiative really needs to have accountability because closed captions are human generated and not machine generated. So they will need that human touch and that human validation. So keeping that in mind, we do partner, with the kind of best of the best closed captioning partners, and we're working with integrating with some other partners as well. We support 3Play Media, AST, Automatic Sync Technologies, AI Media, and CLO24. We don't create our own closed captions. We just know that that's not what we're good at, and we rather work with folks that they do it best. So we partner with all 4 of these companies to help provide you with closed captions where needed. And we encourage you to kind of work with them directly to ensure that your videos have appropriate captioning. Now, what we do is we partner with Amazon's Transcribe service. So I'll go back to the slide in a bit. So, our partnership with Transcribe, we, had selected kind of multiple vendors to sort of test and proof of concept just to sort of see how it would work. We did look at sort of the broader competitors in the space, such as Google or IBM. But we just found that Amazon was the best fit for us, both in terms of our requirements around data storage and data transfer. They can support appropriate language packs for 4 regions, and they also store data in region, which is really important to us. And they also have growing support and testing for multiple languages, which is something we're hoping to work with them on in beta very soon. We've found we can have a really close partnership with Amazon. We already work with them for how we kind of store and transfer our data and a lot of other things today. So it just really seems like a natural extension of our partnership. So with that, we worked with them and helped build our transcript playback view. So this is kind of a view of the classroom. I'll be showing this in my demo in a little bit, but just to quickly review, you'll see in the classroom our kind of transcript playback experience is separate from our caption playback experience. This is really important because the difference between transcripts and captions, as we mentioned earlier, is different. So you want those playback experiences to be separate. So your students or other folks are aware of what is a transcript versus what is captions. And of course, they can be used for different purposes accordingly. We did support and still do support the offline editing of transcript files. A lot of folks find this useful if they need to edit files when they're offline, when they're maybe on the go, or maybe they just prefer using kind of a snazzy text editor. This is just a screenshot from Atom, which is a GitLab product. But what I want to go through today is I'm very excited to demo with you our live in-app transcript editor. So we just launched the ability to allow users to edit those machine-generated transcripts directly within our platform. So I'm going to go ahead and do a new share. And I'm going to go ahead and demo our editor. So you can see, let's see, here we go. So you can see, I'm in a particular course. I'm just going to go ahead and view the transcript as it is today, just so you can see it. And I'll play back for a little bit so you can kind of hear and see how they sync together. I'll just pause talking for a second so you can hear the audio as well.
Was born. The word Punic refers to the Carthaginians. It comes from the Latin punicus, likely derived from Poinicus, meaning Phoenician, in reference to the Carthaginians as originally Phoenician colonists. Carthage itself was a city situated in the north of Africa.
So you can see, during playback, we highlight exactly where the user is. We can click around and it will automatically navigate to that particular moment in the video. And I can, of course, pause or, go back and forth or search for relevant terms. Now, let's say as a user, I realize I need to make some edits or, most importantly, one of our primary use cases that we wanted to work through in creating this is allowing a path for kind of cost-effective closed captioning through the use of the editor. So let's say you have a lot of students or instructors that are able and willing to make edits to the transcript and ensure that they are accurate enough to be pushed to the closed captioning track. This is a great way to be able to do this in a very cost-effective way. We've heard from a lot of our customers that they don't necessarily have the budget to purchase human-generated closed captioning, which can be incredibly expensive at typically around $1 per minute, whereas machine-generated transcription is far less expensive because it is machine-generated, but of course, you get that variation in accuracy because it is machine-generated. All right, so I'm here in the Echo360 transcript editor. You can see I have the title of my media. I can see when it was created and by whom. I have my video playback for reference with audio. I can, show or hide closed captioning if there is any. Hide or show the video source if I find the video to be too distracting while I'm transcribing. And I can change the playback speed. It's funny because I find we see during playback in the classroom, students always want to see stuff at 2x, but when they're transcribing, they want it at 0.5x. So just funny how those needs change over time. All right, great. So I'm in the playback view right now. I can always go search for terms if need be, just to kind of see at a glance where things are popping up and navigate through those pretty quickly. I can also, before I'm ready to edit, I can upload a new version if I need to. Let's say I have kind of one of those edited versions that I was working on offline. I'm ready to now upload it and commit it as a version. I can do that now. I can also export my current version. So that would include, existing format WebVTT. If you are familiar with YouTube's captions or transcripts, this is the same format. It's a pretty common format. We also support a .txt format. That simply includes the speaker names if included and the text. This was a request by folks, especially by students, that were looking for simplified versions of the text that to utilize as basically machine-generated notes. So you don't get the same sort of rich kind of scoring details and other information that you would from the WebVTT, but it's because it's used for different reasons typically. And then, of course, whenever you're comfortable, you can apply those changes to the closed captioning track, which I will do at the end of this presentation. So let's go ahead to the original just for the purposes of this demo. And I'm going to go ahead and edit the transcript. And see, as soon as I entered the edit view, you'll see that a lot of words within the transcript just became underlined with this kind of double red underline and also bolded as well. So what you can see here is this is displaying any words that fall below this word confidence threshold of 94%. Now, what does that mean? So in our partnership with the Transcribe service, we receive back a confidence score for every single word in every single transcript that we receive back. Keep in mind that confidence does not equal accuracy. Simply, unfortunately, machines don't know how to be 100% accurate yet, but they can tell us how confident they are in the outcome that they have generated. So basically what that means is that the machine is, less than 94% confident about these particular words that we've highlighted. We roll up all the scores of all the words within a single transcript to an overall word confidence score. So you can see overall the machine is actually fairly confident in the output of this transcript. And I can always, of course, move that up or move that down accordingly. Now, again, word confidence does not equal accuracy. So we, expect users to utilize this as a tool to really kind of do a first initial check and, potentially see what words may be marred or incorrect the most. And then, of course, go back through, and manually sort of approve things or not approve based on what is needed, for closed captioning, if you are to push for closed captioning. If you're not utilizing the transcript in a way where you'd want to transform it into closed captioning, maybe 94% is good enough. It really all depends on kind of what you're hoping to utilize the transcript for. So I'm going to go ahead in here. This is kind of roughly a lecture around classics, which I took a few classes on. So let's see, I know they talk about Hamilcar, and they unfortunately don't spell Hamilcar right. So I'm going to go in and make those changes. So you can see I had one hit on Hamilcar with one M, and I have 3 hits on Hamilcar with, with one M, and previously one hit on Hamilcar with 2 M's. So I'm going to make those changes. So I can always replace things in bulk, which makes it really easy because typically the system, if it doesn't get a word right, it will not get it right the same way throughout the transcript. So I know that it's actually Hamilcar. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all of those instances. Boom. So all those changes are now done, and you can see that is reflected in the search results accordingly. I'm also going to go ahead and change my pesky other Hamilcar error. I'll replace that, and that's that. You can see that is all done, all within the transcript. So, once I have done my edits and I'm happy with my new version, I can go ahead and save this as a new version. But let's say, and I'm just going to change my share to show this, my colleague happens to be editing at the same time, the same very transcript. So let's say, they go ahead and they want to make some of the same changes, but they think that they have the right spelling of Hamilcar, being actually Hamilton. So I'm going to go ahead and make these changes and try to save this as a new version. So my colleague has sneakily committed their changes before I was able to commit my changes. So I'm going to go back to my other transcript view. I'm going to try to save to the same version, which you'll see we just did. So the system will say, oops, I'm not able to merge your changes automatically. Let me show you the changes that you made, and you can compare them to the changes your colleague made. And from there, you'll then be able to kind of choose the correct, the correct words or the correct changes. So I can see here, my colleague for some reason really thinks that Hamilcar is named Hamilton. I know that my changes are correct, so I'm going to go ahead and select those accordingly. In the instance where, maybe one of their changes were correct and mine wasn't, you could actually just select theirs accordingly, any sort of collection of them. Or, it could, of course, bulk select others or bulk select your changes. In this case, I know my changes are right. I like them. I'm going to go ahead and merge them. And there we are. We have a new version and a new transcript. So let's say I am really happy with all my edits. I feel confident that they reflect the spoken word within the video as much as possible. I'm going to go ahead and apply that as closed captioning. So once that is applied, you'll be able to see that in the closed captioning track accordingly. You can see and preview it within the playback experience. And you can also see it within our classroom as well, which I'm going to go back and show you briefly. So we're within the Echo360 classroom. You can see I've just pulled up the transcript view on the right-hand side. We still have our same kind of highlighting to show where exactly I am in the presentation. And you can also see now I have this option to display closed captioning. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. I know that I want a larger size, so I'm going to make this 40 pixels. I like the contrast and I like the location, and I like the alignment. So I'm going to keep that all as is, but I can always adjust any of these at any time if I need to. All right, great. And let's watch a little bit of our video now with closed captioning.
Reasons still disputed today, they also sought aid from Rome. This may have been because they didn't like the terms of the deal from Carthage, but perhaps more likely because up until this time, Rome and Carthage had been allies in the war against the Greek Pyrrhus. This background helps us to understand the intentions of the Roman Senate when they agreed to help the Mamertines.
Great. So you can see the value in having the closed captioning field different from the transcript field and the different values that they provide accordingly. All kind of help in a multimodal learning experience and help provide accessibility in different ways. But certainly, kind of the more you can have and the more you can support, the better. All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the presentation. Great. So just again, kind of a brief overview of the functionality we offer in our editor. You can edit transcripts generated directly from the Amazon Transcribe service. Those are kind of round-tripped and all done within our system automatically. As long as you turn it on, you don't have to worry about setting up your own partnership with Transcribe or kind of setting up any sort of APIs or anything like that on your own. Transcripts are given an overall confidence score, and low confidence words are automatically flagged. So it's a good sort of cheat sheet or first way to sort of go through and update a transcript accordingly. You can version control or revert to other versions as needed. Again, if my colleague really wanted to commit his changes to have everything go to Hamilton, I could always revert that version if needed. And all versions are always saved, so you can kind of go back and forth at any time. You can find and replace or find and replace all to quickly edit similar errors. We also offer that conflict management that I walked through to handle competing edits from multiple users to ensure that things aren't accidentally overwritten or lost in the editing process, because it can be very complex depending on the length of the video or of the transcript. Once you're confident with your edits for transcripts, if you want to create closed captioning out of them, you can push the transcript to the caption track. And access is controlled by user role. So we only allow access to the transcript editor through administrator users, instructor users, and teaching assistants. We'll also have appropriate toggles around access for other users. So if you want to utilize students, let's say for work study, and have them transform a certain amount of hours of transcripts into closed captioning, you would be able to set them up and have them do that accordingly. All right, and we're also, of course, always looking to improve. As soon as you solve one problem, you want to kind of solve every other problem too. At least that's kind of how I think. I'm always excited by the next problem to solve. So, we're looking at rolling out lots of iterative improvements. That's including student access at the section or owned or shared media levels to transcript editing. The team is actually working on that currently right now. We'll offer an admin toggle to transcribe all media all at once. We'll also offer one-off transcription requests if you don't want to transcribe everything that is published and available to users. We'll be adding some kind of more finesse around clicking to cues to navigate to a particular moment in the media while editing, and also highlighting and tracking during playback. And then finally, just some kind of cleanup and housekeeping. The team kind of does a lot of manual testing and sort of lives in the platform for a while. So it's always nice to sort of see the, requests and bug reports that they come up with and things we can polish before it even gets out the door. And of course, we love to always hear our users' feedback and your feedback. So, any of you that have been able to get your hands on it or do get your hands on it in the future, don't be shy. I love speaking with customers. It's always the most exciting part of my job, and kind of hearing that feedback directly is great. And great, just to say, I really appreciate everyone's time today. I hope this was helpful and insightful. This is, really one of my kind of favorite areas of the product and something I'm really passionate about. So I'm excited to be speaking with all of you today. I think now let's take some questions.
Great, thanks Cassidy, that was fantastic. I've had a couple of questions, so just a reminder if people do have any questions for Cassidy, and we've got the rest of the team here, or not the rest of the team, you've probably got a bigger team than that, but we've also got Joe from Perth joining us and Leah from Tasmania. So a question is, it would be helpful to be able to get video captions in a transcription form for videos that we have humanly captioned. Is this possible? It was a useful feature that was available before.
Got it. So I think if I understand correctly, the question is being able to generate a transcript off of closed captioning. So instead of pushing a transcript to the closed caption track, taking caption and pushing it to the transcript view. Yeah, so it's definitely a request that we've had and we understand it. I think it's something that we'll absolutely want to support in the short term. And if I didn't get your question right, I apologize, and definitely follow up in the Q&A and we can get to it.
Okay. Does the transcription need to be time-stamped for closed captioning?
So it needs, if you're transforming a transcript into closed captioning, it needs those timestamps because the system needs to be able to understand when to display the appropriate text. So without those timestamps, the system isn't able to understand when to display the appropriate text. So at that point, they just aren't able to be shown at the appropriate time in the video playback, if that makes sense.
Yep. And there's another one that probably, do transcripts and closed caption involve extra cost, which, I suppose with editing it will be, but yep.
Yeah. Yes, they do. So, our transcription, of course, transcription is generally, of course, a fraction of the cost of human-generated closed captioning, but both, are additional costs, and we're happy to kind of answer questions, around that or any particular questions you have with the rest of the team.
Okay. I've got a question, I don't know if it's a question, more of a comment. Converting from captions to a transcript may be a job for regular expression search. I'm not familiar with expression search. Do you understand that one? Sorry.
No, I'm not either, unfortunately.
No. All right. So thank you for that. The other question, I suppose, was is there any on your website any really brief how-to videos and so forth? Just knowing that lecturers and tutors and stuff are so time poor, probably like everybody else, but that really just-in-time information that the disability practitioners could direct them to if they're getting into this.
Absolutely. So we definitely have a lot of resources in our help center. We've created some videos and we have very specific walkthroughs of the functionality and kind of what you can do and how to do it. Leah and Joe, I don't know if there's any other documents you'd like folks to sort of look at or look through from the Echo site. But we'll if so, we'll absolutely share them with you, Darlene, after the fact.
I believe Leah's just pasted in a link to some of those help pages into the chat window.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joe. And also, just another question, is there a capacity to have a Word file, i.e. technical language, I suppose, to add to, to then export, I suppose, into it to actually make that easier into, for the, yeah.
So no, I think so to export.
Yep. So it's a bit like with drag and for the medical version of drag, and you can actually put the medical terms into that, so it's actually already guesses the right thing. So is there capacity to actually put the technical words into the automatic system so they actually pick up those words prior to it?
Yeah, I see what they're saying. Yeah, so we're looking at how to best support kind of custom dictionaries based on Amazon sort of recommendations. We had done some brief exploration around custom dictionaries and found that we were getting kind of limited results and sort of funky results. Folks were kind of plugging in over 200, 300 words based on the density of certain lectures, and we were actually getting worse results than if we hadn't added in anything at all. So we're still kind of finessing what sort of works best with the system. We're testing sort of other methods that Amazon has in beta that we've found to be more promising so far that may require less effort on the user's end to sort of manually add those at a transcription by transcription level, but sort of TBD. But that is in testing and sort of helping improve the outcomes of those transcripts that do utilize a lot of very particularly technical language.
Okay. The person that asked the question in regards to the expression searching has added a little bit, saying regular expression searching is a very sophisticated search and replace tool. So we'll have to look that one up to get a bit more information about it. So
Got it.
Learning something today.
I will as well. Yeah, excellent.
So I think in the presentation it kind of covered that too, but do the correct transcripts add back into the system? I think.
In that, do they improve the the kind of parser itself? Yeah, yes and no. So we kind of keep data in region, so we don't obviously kind of share that out. But in terms of sort of specific to content and specific to the institution, the system tries to improve itself where it can. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, that's fantastic. So thank you so much for your time and for staying up later or taking yourself away from Netflix, whichever, these days.
This is great. Thank you again.
It's fantastic to have your time, and it's fantastic that Echo360 continue to develop and improve in this area. It's just amazing watching the technology change over a number of years. So thank you to you and the team for your time. It's been brilliant. We will put more any information that the team give us on the recording that will sit on ADCET. Have a great day.
Of course. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time.